So far, our block has been very bare bones. We tried to find the minimum amount of code that is required to register our block so that it becomes available. But how do we actually make it do anything in the editor? So for that, we need to understand and implement two render functions. One is edit and the other is save. So if we look at the block editor here, and I have a paragraph, right, which is a block as well, then everything to do with these controls in line here and in the sidebar is the responsibility of the edit render function. Whereas what gets stored in the content, right, this string here is the responsibility of the save function. So let's look at how we can implement that for our block. If we go back to registration of a block, that tutorial or article on the developer documentation, we saw that there were these additional parameters that were responsible for those two things. So edit and save. So let's go to our code editor and implement those. I've now opened the index.js of our FAQ, the wrapper block. And here at the second parameter, which is just an object, we're going to specify those two things. So edit, here it's already auto-completing this for me, and then also the save functions. Notice that these are JSX, so this is not standard JavaScript. The build tool that we installed in the previous lesson is actually converting this into standard JavaScript. But this is the JSX syntax that is used across React ecosystem and in many other areas outside of React as well. But it is a convenient way to mix HTML within JavaScript, but gain the dynamic functionality of JavaScript itself. So static HTML becomes dynamic through the power of JSX. So notice that we're also using the shorthand syntax for defining a function. We could actually say function like this, and then we say return the FAQ block. So all this is the same thing. This is just the shorthand format, again, a new addition to the JavaScript standard in general. It's been around for a while though, but that's a convention that's typically used for defining those functions. Because again, that is just shorter and more convenient because you don't have to type out redundant things. So let's convert this back to as it was and see what happened in the editor. Now, if I go in here, exit out of the preview and refresh it, we now have the prompt of autosave that we're going to ignore. And in here, we're going to say FAQ block. Nothing happened. Why is that? Well, let's pull up the inspector and see if there are any errors. Oh, I forgot to run the build tool, right? So because I had stopped it, I'm gonna do it again. So npm run start, and it has now picked up the changes, and it should now be registering the updated block just fine. Yes, indeed. And now we have the output in the editor. Notice that we obviously can't change anything about it because it's hard-coded to this specific string, but that's the intent of it. So over these lessons, we'll be expanding this render function to support all kinds of things. So dynamic input, that this thing actually can be updated. Now let's look at the save function. So what does the save do now here? If I go and pull up the code editor for this view, we see that this has now been stored as this string. So notice it took the div, it automatically added this class, right, as well, and stored it in the post body. So that's the responsibility of the save function. In the next lesson, we're going to look at how to support nesting that FAQ item block inside of our edit and save. So let's do that next.